Ronnie Radke, lead singer and creator of Falling in Reverse, was born in the morning of December 15th, 1983, which he describes as the coldest day. He was the younger brother of Anthony and also had a half-brother named Matthew. Ronnie and Anthony's lives were most affected by their mother, who had drug problems that eventually led to her abandoning the family, leaving Mr. Radke alone to take care of the boys from a young age. Ronnie would later go on to write a song about this called The Day I Left the Womb, where he describes when how he was born, he took a piece of his mother and she took a piece of him, metaphorically of course. This article, from Our Everyday Life, discusses some of the possible effects of an absent mother figure. In some cases, a marital breakdown, addiction, or mental illness may cause a mother to disappear from her child's life. The effects of an absent mother figure can be long-term and in some cases severe. Common symptoms are low self-esteem, emotional problems, and trust issues. Adolescents who have not had a mother figure may use unhealthy activities such as promiscuity or criminal behavior to find love, acceptance, and security. The article also discusses difficulty forming healthy adult relationships, anxiety, and pressure to succeed in a chosen profession. From an outside perspective, the symptoms in this article seem to almost describe Ronnie Radke's story to a T. His self-esteem and behavior issues as a result of his mother's absence are well documented.
Spent most of my teenage years searching for her love. I could not find it anywhere, so I turned to drugs.
He's a textbook example of the abandoned child getting involved in crime. The only real gap in his resume is his time in prison, which we'll get into because it was an important driving force for his music. The lack of emotional maturity is there too. I'm not saying this to dunk on Ronnie in any way. I'm sure he would probably agree that he's done a number of immature things over the years, from kicking fans of another band out of his show, to throwing microphone stands, to running his mouth and assuming that he's right about everything. The relationship issues seem to be there too. Being in the spotlight most of his adult life, Ronnie has had a lot of public falling outs with nearly everyone he's interacted with, going through band members faster than Hendrix went through guitars.
French! Who the fuck needs them? You know who you are!
But through all of this, there is one silver lining. Ronnie has an unparalleled drive to succeed, and while this may be a subconscious attempt at Ronnie still trying to win his mother's love, for us, that means a career full of bangers that we get to listen to and talk about. To learn why good girls like bad guys, stick around to the end of this video. Welcome to Band History. Falling in Reverse is a band that I originally discovered in high school. Originally, I was a fan of Escape the Fate, but they weren't on my radar until they released their second album, This War Is Ours. I liked what I heard and decided to check out their first album, without knowing that there'd be a different singer on lead vocals. I ended up reading all about the feud between Ronnie and his ex-bandmates and was there on day one as a fan of Falling in Reverse when they made their official debut. But to fully understand Falling in Reverse, we have to go back to Escape the Fate, and the lead up to the release of their first album, years before frontman Ronnie Radke was forced to pen music inside of a prison cell. Escape the Fate was formed in Las Vegas in 2004 by high school friends Radke and bassist Max Green. The pair had played in multiple bands together and forged a new partnership when those other bands dissolved. In this interview with Alternative Press, the two rock stars explained how they first met.
He was in a band, I was in a band, only two bands at our high school. And so it was kind of like a rival thing.
In history, and then so we did everything together. I was like, "When's your birthday?" He's like, "December 15th." I'm like,
same year.
"What did you say?" And
he's 1 year older.
1 year older, and I was like, "Pull your ID out." He was like, "Pull your ID out." I was laid on the table. I was like, "You gotta be kidding me." We have a lot of similarities, and we connected on a higher level than most friends would.
During a talent show with his high school band, Radke's microphone fell off of its stand. Green, who is set to play with his own band right after, ran up on stage and set the microphone back onto its mount. The friendship blossomed from there. This wouldn't be the last time microphone equipment would cause the rocker problems. We'll get into that later. In the meantime, this is the earliest known video of Radke playing with his high school band. The two friends even made a pact with the devil to become famous when they were still teens.
So we wanted to be famous, right?
I'm 17 years old, want to be famous all the time. I made a draft of what was soon to be the contract for my soul to be sold to the satanic man, Lucifer.
And he rewrote it like a bunch of times.
The day came where I cut my finger and signed it in blood.
Signed it in blood. We're in my mom's apartment. I kid you not, dude. I kid you not, man. All of a sudden, the windows, everything, the shades start moving, whatever else. Red light starts shining in. The front door blows open. It's like whirlwind, like
Vegas,
surrounds our apartment. Oh my god! You know what I mean? And it's done.
The rational explanation they gave is that Vegas gets a lot of dust devils, pardon the pun, and the dirt turned the streetlights red just as they signed this demonic pact. Maybe that's what happened, but you have to admit, whether you believe in demonic forces or not, the timing is pretty strange. In any case, with the pact already made, now it was time to move on to more earthly pursuits. Using MySpace, remember MySpace? Hi, Tom! Radke and Green searched for band members to flesh out their new group. The social media site led to the discovery of guitarist Brian Money, who brought along another guitarist, Omar Espinoza. Drummer Robert Ortiz and keyboardist Karsten Allen joined soon after, and this screamo Las Vegas Voltron was complete. The band found early success when their demo caught fire playing local radio stations, and the hometown crowd was clamoring for more. In September of 2005, Escape the Fate won a local radio contest judged by My Chemical Romance. The prize? Opening on their headlining tour with Alkaline Trio and Reggie and the Full Effect. For the first time since the band's inception, Escape the Fate played major arenas across the country, cultivating new fans along the way, while inking a record deal with the legendary punk rock imprint Epitaph Records. The label partnered the group with producer Michael Elvis Basquette, who had done work with big names like Limp Bizkit, Chevelle, and Puddle of Mudd. Basquette helped the band craft its debut EP, There's No Sympathy for the Dead. The 5-track record was released on May 23, 2006, less than 1 year after the band first shared the stage with My Chemical Romance. Fans fell hard for the record, with Radke's infectious vocals and explosive energy providing what one reviewer called enough hooks to supply a commercial fisherman. The album was a precursor to the band's official studio debut, Dying Is Your Latest Fashion, released September 26 of the same year, just 4 months after the EP. This album is an absolute classic and still ranks as one of their greatest albums to this day. One of the most popular tracks on the album, and one of my personal favorites, Not Good Enough for Truth and Cliche, is about the pain of a failed relationship. There are some truly epic vocals on this track, and the music video does not disappoint. It's a fun riff on Romeo and Juliet by the way of the Capulet Cafe.
My dear Juliet, out from the window, see her backdrop silhouette. This blood on my hands is something I cannot forget.
Situations is the second single off the album and contains the lyrics Dying Is Your Latest Fashion from the album's namesake. Where their first music video was a heartfelt ode to an old flame, this video is anything but. It shows a full-on striptease party in the middle of a high school classroom with Radke singing about women that make him fall in love for a night. The video opens with a boy named Thurmond getting ready for his first day of school.
Hello, Thurman. It's your first day of school.
Aw, Mom.
Bye, have fun.
You know I'm not like the other kids. I'm weird. And my pants are too tight.
Except at this school, all the other kids are scene and emo kids, and throughout the video, Ronnie teaches Thurmond, and apparently his mom, how to rock and have fun. The rest of the album covers themes of addiction, depression, and violence, with splashy track titles like Reverse This Curse, My Apocalypse, and The Day I Left the Womb. But the track I keep going back to is There's No Sympathy for the Dead, a song originally recorded for the EP of the same name.
There's no sympathy for the dead. It's like something.
Fun fact for all you gamers out there, the song Guillotine is inspired by the Xbox game Halo, a first-person co-op shooter about surviving a bloody war with an alien race called the Covenant.
The worst is yet to come. We've reached the covenant. The covenant? In the lyrics, it says it right here. We've reached the covenant. The covenant, my friend, is the enemy in Halo. Ryan, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Yep.
We've reached the covenant to kill what we have started. Kill the machines we've spawned to fight in the darkest hour. Okay? That's giving me chills right now.
Kind of ironic, considering that shortly after the release of the band's first studio album, Radke found himself in the midst of his own war, a war with himself, when his battles with drugs and violent tendencies led to the prison stint that got him kicked out of the band that he started. Just 2 years later, in 2008, the Ronnie Radke era of Escape the Fate was over before it really had a chance to launch him into the metalcore stratosphere. But personal tragedy lays the foundation for the beleaguered frontman's real coming out party, even if no one can see it yet. Radke was involved in a group fight in Las Vegas where an 18-year-old man was shot and killed. Radke wasn't charged with murder, a friend of his was the one to pull the trigger. But Radke was indicted on battery charges for bringing brass knuckles to the showdown. It's apparently illegal to even possess brass knuckles. So Ronnie was sentenced to 5 years probation. Later, after failing a drug test which violated his probation, Ronnie was sentenced to 2.5 years in a Nevada prison. His bandmates in Escape the Fate immediately cut all ties with their lead vocalist. Radke was kicked out of the band and replaced by Craig Mabbitt, the former lead singer of Bless the Fall. Bless the Fall played with Escape the Fate on the Black on Black tour 1 year earlier. Like Radke, Mabbitt left his band because of his own struggles with addiction. The split happened while they were on tour in Europe. Bless the Fall guitarist Eric Lambert said, "We all had enough of him, and he just pieced out on us, left us with 16 shows to go and no singer." Mabbitt jumped at the chance to lead Escape the Fate after Radke's departure. And with Mabbitt on lead vocals, the band took the stage at Extreme Things Sports and Music Festival in Las Vegas on March 29, 2008. It was the first time Escape the Fate played for a live audience with Mabbitt at the helm, and the show immediately got off to a rocky start. Ronnie Radke was to blame. He was in the crowd. He hadn't started serving his prison sentence yet, so he took the opportunity to heckle Mabbitt during his very first show with Escape the Fates. His former bandmates tried their best to ignore him, but Radke was relentless, even rallying other fans in the crowd to his cause. The atmosphere was hostile, and Mabbitt forgot his lyrics while he was being verbally attacked. Bassist Max Green, the high school friend that helped Radke start the band, couldn't keep quiet. He stepped up to the mic and addressed Radke directly.
Stay with my band.
That was rough to watch, and even harder to stomach if you're trying to power through a performance on stage. But Mabbitt, to his credit, shook it off and finished the set. Radke was sent to prison shortly after, and while he was locked up, Mabbitt and his new band released 2 brand new albums, This War Is Ours in October of 2008, and a self-titled third album with a brand new label, Interscope Records, and a brand new Escape the Fate logo in November of 2010. I continued to enjoy Escape the Fate stuff after Ronnie's departure. In particular, I think This War Is Ours is the post-Ronnie album that I think resonated with me the most, and there may be a reason for that. It almost sounds like they're trying to emulate Ronnie's style. It stands out on songs like Ashley, with Mabbitt performing those little vocal cracks similar to what Ronnie does with his voice on Situations.
Ashley, baby, you make me feel so alive. I've got purpose once again, yeah.
But anyway, this is a video about falling in reverse. Maybe I'll talk about what became of Escape the Fate some other time. While Escape the Fate's star was rising, Ronnie Radke was stuck in a prison cell, desperate to get out and rehabilitate his life and career. Despite his absence from the music scene, he still maintained an army of loyal supporters who wrote him hundreds of letters expressing their support and even anger about Escape the Fate's decision to go on without the creative engine behind some of the band's most beloved songs. During a prison interview with Las Vegas Weekly, Ronnie said a lot of the fan mail he received were letters bashing Craig Mabbitt.
I get 25 letters a day, and people are like saying it sucks or it's not you, and I call my friends and they're like, oh my god, I can't believe this, he's trying to be you, he's dressing like you, he jumped off the stage and broke his leg trying to jump on the stage like you.
The sting was especially painful given the fact that Ronnie and Mabbitt were friends before he was sent away.
Mabbitt was burrowing himself within, going under, being the undertone, going under everything to avoid me. You know what I'm saying? Right. Like, I could see it in his eyes. He wanted my fucking position. He wanted my fame. And he's not better than me. My aura was in that band. And when I left that band, I took everything with me.
Radke channeled that aura into writing songs for his new band. Not an easy feat inside a steel cage with no privacy. But he improvised a system where he'd tap out melodies on tables or even his lap, and whisper sing hooks and guitar riffs while writing song lyrics on anything he could find.
So I would this, I'd play. That's how I made a lot of my songs. All the songs, Couldn't sing really loud. I didn't want to annoy people, so I had to kind of whisper it. So I had to get my voice back when I got out. I didn't know how to. I was doing this instead of belting.
Right.
I had to relearn all that. And that didn't take too long.
The isolation also helped him hone in on the reasons for his early success. He wanted to recapture that same magic, but channel it into this new project that he was burning to get out. I would think all day, for days and days, about what people would want to hear. I would dissect my own album and read all the fan letters and the reasons why they loved my band and why they listened to it. And I wrote about that, but in different ways. I don't know why these kids love the tragedies that I write about. I guess they can relate to it. From behind bars at High Desert State Prison, Radke vented his anger by writing new music and forming a new band, originally called From Behind These Walls. The name didn't stick because of a copyright issue. But in 2010, Radke was released, intent on starting something fresh and making a mark with his new band and a new name, Falling in Reverse, which basically just means rising, like Ronnie planned on rising back up after getting out of jail. He explained the career reset in an interview with the Las Vegas Sun. When this new record comes out, people are gonna be blown away. I know it in my heart. It's got pop elements. In the same songs, it sounds like Norma Jean or Under Oath with Katy Perry choruses. A couple really pop choruses with ridiculous out of nowhere, how did they do that type stuff. There's a lot of synth, but it's not overdone. I do a lot of talking in between. As a reminder of his stint in prison, Radke keeps his prison blanket and sleeps with it every night on tour. Every time I lay down with it at night, I'll remember the reason I don't ever want to go back to prison. But I would never have been able to write this good of a record if I didn't go. I'm very happy because I'm now clean. If I hadn't gone away, I would never have changed. I'd probably have died on stage or something. It's incredibly ambitious. But a band needs band members, and Radke knew he'd need to find a new team to make the songs in his head come to life. So he reached out to a few musicians through mutual acquaintances in the industry, and after a series of phone calls and letters, he recruited a group to record his comeback album when his sentence was complete. The lineup would change over time, but the original members of Falling in Reverse were bassist Micah Horiuchi, guitarist Jackie Vincent and Derek Jones, and drummer Ryan Seaman. I want to give a special shout out to Jackie Vincent, who's maybe my favorite guitarist of all time, something I decided after seeing him do this. To this day, that clip still blows the power metal fan in me to the moon. In December of 2010, Radke was released from prison. He immediately fled to Florida, where he began furiously recording all of the material he'd written while incarcerated. He also wanted to keep as far away from Vegas as he could to prevent any distractions from his old life. Most of all, he was terrified of having a relapse, and still having an axe to grind with his old band certainly reinforced that decision. When asked in an interview with Las Vegas Weekly if he'd heard anything from Escape the Fate since being released, Radke didn't mince words. All of a sudden, they want to be friends. Let's wave some white flags, peace, that's what they want. Are you doing a record right now? Oh, let's be friends. No. Let's be friends after this record comes out. It's always about forgive and forget, but there's some things that I would like to say. So I did, on the record. I think a lot of kids are gonna be like, oh, rewind that. The change in scenery, along with the support of his new bandmates, helped Radke focus on finishing what would become the band's debut album, The Drug in Me Is You.
Trying to consume the drug in me is you.
On July 26, 2011, more than 3 years after his last performance with Escape the Fate, Ronnie Radke and his new band released the long gestating record Through Epitaph. And, true to the band's name, the release was a true reversal of fortune for Radke, who had been written off by some as a bad cliche. Stop me if you've heard this one before, a rock star who had fizzled out after his troubles with addiction. Radke refused to go out like many before him had. And while the album received mixed reviews in spite of the screaming hype train that preceded its release, the lyrics here seemed more genuinely personal than Radke's earlier work. Like The Westerner, which plays like a breakup song with a band instead of a girl.
No, you won't take my pride. I'll keep my head held high, 'cause I know that I'm better in the end.
For me, this album was the best offering from Radke yet. You can really feel all the raw emotion from being put in prison and abandoned by his friends. It's right there in the music. An all-time great album with a backstory almost as juicy as the music itself. For that reason, I absolutely have to crown this as Falling in Reverse's magnum opus. The album eventually charted at number 19 on the Billboard 200 and was powered by 3 well-received singles, all of which got the music video treatment. The video for the title track, The Drug in Me Is You, leans pretty heavily on the prison/courthouse motif. No surprise there, given his recent stint as state property. In the video, we see Radke being arrested, interrogated, thrown in a cell, and then tried in a courtroom by sexed-up female cops and jurors before the scene breaks out into a wild rock party. The next single, Raised by Wolves, one of my favorite tracks on the album, is a straightforward live performance video shot in the style of concert films like Martin Scorsese's Shine a Light, where he followed the Rolling Stones both back and on stage during a Bigger Bang tour. The Falling in Reverse version shows Radke back in his element, doing what he does best in front of a live audience, with some fans even invited on stage in what feels like a heartfelt celebration of his return and a tribute to their troubled frontman. Like the first single, this song also takes shots at Escape the Fate, with the chorus, "You're what I started, now disregarded. One day they'll see, it was always me." Tragic Magic, another banger, is even more harsh, railing Mabbott for emulating his style.
You need to shut up. You bring a picture of me every time you get your hair cut. Imposter!
The last single off the album, I'm Not a Vampire, is the most campy of the bunch. The video is a riff on Celebrity Rehab, where Radke seems to be poking fun at himself and making light of some of his darkest personal struggles, with parodies of Tommy Lee, Paris Hilton, and Jason Voorhees. I actually want to see a full episode of this now. There's even an appearance by fellow internet personality Jeffree Star, who got his start as an electronica and pop vocalist and performed on the Vans Warped Tour back in 2008. The video is a strange but welcome one, and Radke seems to be having a blast with his new band. Still, he can't seem to shake the sting of his dramatic departure from Escape the Fates, or the debate over whether ETF was better since Craig Mabbott replaced him. There are lyrics all over the album that take open shots at his former bandmates and their new music.
Light up the hole 10 miles wide, so I can throw all of you inside.
But the feud was especially bitter online, with Radke throwing darts every chance he got. In an interview with Loudwire, Radke said, "I just don't like that they call themselves Escape the Fate when there's only one original member. I feel it's disrespectful. The new music that they play, that's not what the band was about. That shit's like off in left field compared to what the vision was." Ronnie is allowed to change his opinion whenever he wants, but for the record, in 2023, Ronnie is the only original member of Falling in Reverse. For his part, Mabbott tried to downplay this battle of the band. When asked by the press, he was pretty tight-lipped about it and seemed not to want to engage on the topic.
All right, you talked a lot of stuff on your record. I'm glad you got it out. Just do your thing,
The feud even spilled over to fans of both bands, with Falling in Reverse going to Escape the Fate concerts wearing Team Ronnie t-shirts or chanting Ronnie while Mabbott was on stage.
Someone on this side said, "Ronnie's better, bro." Who was it? Because you can get the fuck out, dude. We're here to play music.
Radke seemed to eat up all of this controversy, even performing original ETF songs Situations and Not Good Enough for Truth and Cliché while touring with Falling in Reverse, a middle finger in song form. I was in the crowd watching Ronnie and his new bandmates perform live. The old hits were a genuine surprise and a welcome addition to an already stellar show.
I'm not fucking saying, but at least I will fucking sing about it. Oh, the audacity!
In another surprise twist, Radke found himself on the cover of Alternative Press in 2012, a testament to his rebound after prison and perhaps a precursor to his eventual habit of running his mouth on Twitter too much. There's also an interesting parallel to a song he had released many years after the fact, Losing My Life, where he brags about being more hated than Donald Trump. Riding high on the success of this unlikely Renaissance, Radke's resentment towards his old band eventually gave way to reconciliation when his former best friend turned worst enemy, Max Green, began losing ground to a common enemy that both men share: addiction. This video shows Green performing with Escape the Fate at a concert in New Jersey's Starland Ballroom. He looks dazed and stumbles around a bit before collapsing on stage from a heroin overdose. In an interview with Alternative Press, Radke said, "I hated him because I loved him so much." But when Green's drug troubles made headlines, Radke was compelled to step in and help his oldest friend through his dark night of the soul. Like Radke, Green was also kicked out of the band that he started because of issues with drugs. He was let back in once he got clean.
He wanted to help me out and wanted me to be around again. And he's like, "Your life has not even begun yet, dude." He's like, "You can choose to live." He's like, "Any day now." He's like, "I went to jail, man." He's like, "And as soon as I got sober," he's like, "My life," he's like, "I started living and my life turned around."
This reunion with Green helped spark a new creative direction for Falling in Reverse. Where the band's debut album was fueled by Radke's frustration and rage, the band's follow-up saw their controversial frontman set aside his personal baggage to make room for a new kind of inspiration. Radke teased the new album in an interview with Marshall Music News in early 2012. The last record was so vengeful and bitter and spiteful, so everyone is wondering what I'm gonna sing about next, and I'm just not quite ready to let people know. I'm sorry. When people hear the new stuff though, I promise you that they'll lose their mind. It's light years ahead of my last album. We're demoing new songs right now as we speak, and I'm telling you, people are seriously gonna lose their mind. Before he could make it good on his promise, Radke seemed to lose his mind during a show at Six Flags Great Adventure in September of 2012. During a headlining set at Festival in New Jersey, which featured 20 punk, metal, and hardcore bands, Radke was especially pumped up while performing The Drug in Me Is You. During the song, he threw not one, not two, but 3 mic stands into the crowd. The mic stands injured 2 fans, a 24-year-old man who was treated at the scene, and a 16-year-old girl who suffered a 3-inch gash on her head. A spokesperson for the park called Radke completely reckless with no regard for the safety of his fans. There hasn't been a metal show at a Six Flags since. The entire genre was banned from all Six Flags parks. Hopefully that ban will no longer be in effect once the good people at Cedar Fair are in charge of the Six Flags parks. Radke was charged with simple and aggravated assault and was released on bail. He apologized for the stunt, and the young girl was awarded $800,000 in damages. He later walked back the apology in a series of inflammatory tweets where he wrote, "Girl got almost $1 million for a tiny ass cut and it helped my persona, so no apologies." He also pointed to other musicians that have been in hot water for injuring fans during shows like Axl Rose and Travis Scott, saying that it happens a lot. Just 2 months later, in November of 2012, Radke had to navigate another controversy while headlining the Thug in Me Is You tour. This time, the conflict came from another band, Michigan-based electronicore band Icy Stars. Icy Stars opened for Falling in Reverse, but Radke kicked them off the tour when the band was busted for possession of hallucinogenic drugs. Icy Stars' label begged Radke for a second chance, a chance that was later granted until the FIR frontman dropped the hammer for the final time. In a statement released on Facebook, Radke said, "If you've been following my story, you know that I'm very serious about my sobriety and have been sober for 4+ years now. I decided to remove them from the tour at the time as I did not want drug users in my environment. Throughout this entire tour, they have been unprofessional. They have rarely showed up on time and have caused undue difficulty on my crew plus employees of the various venues. I feel at this point we have no choice but to continue on without them." Icy Stars offered a rebuttal that pinned the blame on Radke. "It has nothing to do with drugs or being late. His statement is entirely false. It has everything to do with Ronnie's antagonistic, violent behavior towards us, his ego, his malicious intent, his financial greed, and his demands of no one being allowed to know the truth behind the scenes of this tour." Radke's beef with Icy Stars extended to its fans. At a show in Detroit, in the band's home state of Michigan, the hometown crowd came out in support of its local heroes. While Falling in Reverse was on stage, Stars fans started cheering the name of their favorite band, which got them tossed from the venue.
One second. Can you hit the crowd lights? Can you kick the 5 people that are saying Icy Stars out of here, please?
When other fans in the crowd tried to stick up for that first group, they got booted right along with them, about 25 people in total.
The lead singer of Weezer, get the fuck out of here, go!
Whoa, Ronnie, what did Rivers ever do to you? The angry fans were interviewed by Pup Fresh just outside the venue. To put it lightly, they were pissed.
You're on tour and it's the local show for Icy Stars and you kick them out 30 minutes before their show. Get the f over yourself, you stupid fucking scumbag. Like, no one gives a shit. You're not gonna mean anything in 5 years. You're gonna go back to prison.
I have to point out just how strange a coincidence it is that Ronnie left a fan concussed, seeing stars after he threw a mic stand at her head, and then just 2 months later, he's involved in a war of words with a band called Icy Stars. Does anyone else find that extremely odd? Is it just me? Maybe it's a case of karma biting him in the ass. In any case, moving on. Around this time, more trouble cropped up internally when Radke had a falling out with bassist Micah Horiuchi. Radke didn't offer much in the way of explanation, saying, "I fired him because he didn't know how to tune his bass and he's an a-." Micah is not in the band and that's it. Horiuchi was replaced by Ron Ficaro of I Am Ghost, and Falling in Reverse closed out their last show in 2012 in front of a capacity crowd at Dirtfest in Birch Run, Michigan by announcing the impending release of their next album. In the lead up to the band's next group effort, Radke released a solo track called Fairweather Fans, a single meant to kick off a solo rap EP called Watch Me. There's conflicting information online, but it seems to have debuted on YouTube sometime between mid-2013 and early 2014 with the official launch of Radke's YouTube channel. The track is about his early hip-hop influences like Dr. Dre and Eminem. On the record, he mentions that his brother brought him the Chronic album when he was just 8 years old.
back to 92 when I was 8. My brother gave me a tape by mistake. Dr. Dre, it was December 15th to the date. The Chronic on my birthday must have been fate.
To this day, the EP still hasn't received an official release. All we have so far is a track list and a handful of songs that have been released sporadically over the past few years. While these songs are far from his best, they show a love and commitment to rap that won't fully blossom until much later, which we'll definitely get into. For now, let's shift back to Falling in Reverse.
Great taste, beautiful place, and you're fashionably late.
The band's second album, Fashionably Late, officially hit record stores on June 18, 2013. But there was a whirlwind of promotion for this highly anticipated follow-up in the months leading up to its release. On May 7, the video for the album's first single, Alone, hit screens and radio stations everywhere. It's more rap-heavy than previous offerings, and Radke comes out swinging. Apparently, he wants all the smoke. But for me, it feels pretty flat.
Started out in 06 and revived the scene. So many motherfuckers wanna be like me.
This would be the first of many attempts at a rap metal hybrid, but I can't help feeling like it's mostly surface level stuff on this track. And the music video feels the same. There's fast cars and cool clothes and even a helicopter. But not much else beyond all the glitz and the amped up light show on the chorus. Personally, I think he's at his best when he's got something to say that's really eating at him. Alone is the first of a couple of tracks on this album that I, and many other Falling in Reverse fans and haters alike, agree ventures into cringe territory. But things would only go up from here. The next single off the album, the title track, Fashionably Late, was released 2 weeks later. This track didn't get a music video, but it's another poppy song, much more pop-inspired than anything on his previous releases. One interesting thing on this track is its allusions to infidelity. I'll explain why in a minute, but first, here's a quick snippet. While these two singles were making the rounds, Falling in Reverse was set to play the 2013 Vans Warped Tour to help drum up more excitement for the new album. But their tour dates were abruptly cancelled when Radke revealed he was going to be a father for the first time. On June 11, just days before the album's release, Radke's then fiancée, actress Chrissy Henderson, gave birth to their daughter, Willow Grace.
I wanted a baby with her. I just didn't expect it. You know what I mean? You know, but there we are. It's a beautiful 7-pound girl, and greatest thing that ever happened to me, straight up.
Okay, so remember how I said the title track alluded to infidelity? Not long after Willow was born, Radke and Henderson broke up amid reports that he cheated on her while she was pregnant. Did he intentionally out himself on the record? Hopefully Ronnie's split from Chrissy doesn't have the same effect on their daughter that Ronnie's absent mother had on him. In I'm Not a Vampire, Ronnie says, "Daddy should have never raised me on Black Sabbath." What does a kid raised on Falling in Reverse end up like? Whatever the case, Radke's creative baby was getting dragged through the mud by critics, who rejected this new album's messy mix of rap, punk, electronic, and synth sounds. One of the biggest head scratchers was Game Over. Again, like the Halo-inspired Guillotine from the first album, this track leaned heavily on nods from a classic video game, Super Mario Bros. You've probably heard part of this song regardless of if you're familiar with the album, due to it becoming a meme in the following console generation.
My life is like a video game, trying hard to beat the stage, all while I am still collecting coins.
Aside from Game Over and Alone, there were other tracks that helped give this album the cringe label, like the country twang of Drifter and the Shy Kid X remix of Rolling Stone, which was clearly inspired by Skrillex. Some felt that hopping around to different genres made the record feel thematically disjointed. Your mileage will vary depending on personal taste. To my ears, I'd admit this album couldn't really settle on an identity and was a little too focused on trends of the day, like incorporating rap or dubstep. Despite that, there is a lot to like here, and the highs are really high. Born to Lead is especially great, with Jackie Vincent giving us a guitar solo for the ages. For me, it's easily the highlight of the whole album. On the more pop-oriented songs, I was always distraught that his talents weren't getting fully utilized, so it was super satisfying when he got his moment to shine. However, most reviews outright pan the album, calling it the worst of Radke's career. For my money, the most memorable review came from Kerrang! Magazine, which said they couldn't decide if the album was genius or guff. Ultimately, they said the album broke their scoring system because neither 1 out of 5 nor 5 out of 5 would have done it justice. They gave it an overall rating of no. Despite the harsh reviews, the album still peaked at number 17 on the Billboard 200, 2 slots higher than their previous efforts. But whatever sense of accomplishment Radke may have felt at the time, the success was short-lived. On August 10th, less than 2 months after the album's release, Ronnie's older brother Anthony was killed in a motorcycle accident. Ronnie posted a childhood photo of him and his brother online and had this to say about the eldest Radke. "Anthony James Radke was my brother's name, and he was 4 years older than me and always protected me. I followed him everywhere and copied everything he did. I'm so heartbroken. It doesn't even seem real." Ronnie also shared a song that he'd recorded recorded back in 2005 when he still led Escape the Fate. The Day I Left the Womb is more somber and introspective than anything on Fashionably Late. There's a real rawness to the track that speaks to the pain that he felt from an absentee mother that abandoned him and Anthony as children. That's why he felt so close to his brother, because Anthony was there when his mother wasn't.
Brother, put your needles down. The best thing for you is to leave this awful town.
Despite professional setbacks and personal tragedy, 2013 would still end on a hopeful note. With his brother's untimely death putting things into perspective, Ronnie extends an olive branch that helps him usher in a surprise ending to a long-standing feud.
We want to announce to the world that there is a tour coming mid-January called Bury the Hatchet. Escape the Fate, my band, Falling in Reverse, tour together.
Crazy. Once in a lifetime thing. It's gonna be nuts.
Yeah.
Yes, you heard it right. In October of 2013, after years of slinging mud at each other both on record and on stage, Ronnie Radke and Craig Mabbitt were finally ready to bury the hatchet, and not in each other's heads. This was a genuine reconciliation, where both frontmen embraced and washed away all of the bad blood between them, both for the sake of their own sanity and the loyal fan bases that they'd each cultivated. For the first time ever, it was okay to be fans of both bands. And although I always enjoyed both, this legitimately blew my mind, because this was a war that I never thought I'd see come to a peaceful end. Radke said he woke up one day and realized he had no good reason to stay angry at Mabbitt after so many years. He apologized for the animosity and mutual disrespect and pitched him on an idea. What if we went on tour together? Pretty incredible considering there was a time when these two could barely say hello to each other without a fight. The tour kicked off on January 15, 2014 in Los Angeles, with both men sharing the stage to perform Not Good Enough for Truth and Cliche. In an interview with Alternative Press, Craig Mabbitt said, "The bands are getting along and the energy on stage is amazing. I was on Falling in Reverse's tour bus the other night and we were singing Happy Birthday to Jackie Vincent, drinking Fireball, having some laughs and sharing old stories and talking about why did any of us ever hate each other. It's really cool. It's very therapeutic." The tour boasted sold-out shows across the country, including the Best Buy Theater in New York City, which holds more than 2,000 seats. I wish I could have seen that collaboration in person with my own eyes. I did see Falling in Reverse later that summer, however, at Warped Tour 2014, which I'm very glad about, because I got to see them perform Born to Lead while I still had the chance. More on that later. 2014 also marked another unlikely reunion, Radke and Escape the Fate bassist Max Green. In May of that year, the founding member of ETF left the band he helped create for a second time. Musical differences was the reason he gave, but his bandmates were worried that he might have relapsed. In any case, serendipity intervened, because around the time of Green's departure from ETF, it just so happened that Falling in Reverse bassist Ron Ficaro had been let go. When Radke was looking for someone to fill the open spot, he was surprised and thrilled to hear that his high school buddy was available. At least that's the official story. I don't know if I buy that. I think Max Green quit ETF and Ronnie Radke got rid of Ron Ficaro to make room for his best friend. Radke told Alternative Press, "Ron was probably the best bass player I've ever played with, but at this moment in time, I feel it's best to part ways with him. Max quitting Escape the Fate was like a godsend. It was a no-brainer to have him join. I've known him half my life, and this will be a great new chapter to start." Here's a clip of Radke and Green being interviewed on the 2014 Warped Tour in August of that year, reminiscing about their early days when they couch surfed and stole food to survive.
We used to steal from grocery stores to get by and to stay at our friends' houses and stuff. We would each take a handbasket and go on either side of the store and meet up in the middle.
Dress up as certain characters. Like we dress up as Mormons.
So we would go and he'd be like, all right, you get microwavable stuff, I'll get like steaks and chickens and da-da-da. Like, all right, cool. So we'd get what we were supposed to get. It's illegal for grocery stores to lock the fire exit. So we would just go and run and kick open the fire exit, and alarm would go off. And we would run
into a van. An unmarked van.
An unmarked van.
Yeah.
I don't encourage anyone to rip off their local grocery store, but it is kind of funny how dumb they were. These guys had clearly been through so much over the years, and I was stoked to see them playing together again after so much hardship, both personally and professionally. Sadly, the reunion was short-lived, and Green would soon find himself, like so many before him, on his way out of the band. By October of 2014, Green left the band, citing personal issues, but not before helping Falling in Reverse craft their third studio album, Just Like You.
Honestly, I'm just like you.
This new album was meant to be a return to form, a spiritual sequel to Escape the Fate's Dying Is Your Latest Fashion, a straight shot of nostalgia for longtime fans. Radke would be moving away from the cocky raps and experimentation that dominated much of Fashionably Late, with a heavier focus on the signature blend of screaming and melodic singing that made him a breakout star. On December 15, 2014, Radke's 33rd birthday, Falling in Reverse released the first single, titled God If You Are Above, which has Radke questioning the afterlife and whether the choices he's made turn out to be the right ones once the world ends. The band released 3 more singles over the next 2 months. The first was Guillotine 4, a sequel to The Guillotine from Dying Is Your Latest Fashion. ETF's second album, This War Is Ours, gave us The Guillotine 2, which came after Ronnie was kicked out of the band. ETF's self-titled third album gave us The Aftermath, otherwise known as G3. Now, the Guillotine series was coming back full circle, with Ronnie and Max together again. Max is the only constant through all 4 installments. This would not be the only sequel that the album had to offer. One of the bonus tracks was My Apocalypse 2, a follow-up to My Apocalypse from Ronnie's time in Escape the Fate. The next singles off the album were Stay Away and Sexy Drug, released just 1 day apart, all of which felt like a direct bridge between Radke's early work before he went to prison and this modern-day iteration of the always outspoken, always entertaining frontman. On Stay Away, Radke sings about his life and career with thoughtful and contemplative lyrics, while on the flip side, Sexy Drug is a song about, no surprise here, the intoxicating pull of a woman. On February 24, 2015, the full album was released, along with a video for the title track, Just Like You. The video is a playful parody of The Voice, with Ronnie playing several characters, not unlike one of his musical heroes, Eminem. It wouldn't feel right not to bring up the extended version of the video, with this strange intro that shows a buffed out contestant in the dressing room on Ronnie Radke's talent show, The Choice.
Fa la 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 la. I'm over here now. Bing bang boom. You're done. Boom. Ronald McDonald, meet me by my bus, bitch. Get the fuck out of here.
Hello, Lorenzo.
Hey there, Ronald.
This is actually Ronnie taking a shot at Lorenzo Antonucci, the ex-guitarist of the band's sworn enemy. In 2012, Lorenzo made a rather strange video calling out Ronnie for his past behavior. Most notably, Lorenzo, who refers to himself as Lorenzo the Main Event Antonucci, claims that he's friends with the guys in IC Stars, the band that Ronnie kicked off of his tour.
This video's for all the kids that have been bullied. I'm the voice of the voiceless. Bing, bang, boom. Ronnie, you're done. Boom.
You got a problem, meet me by my bus.
I'm over here now.
Another weird thing about the Just Like You video is the inclusion of comedian and professional firebrand for controversy, Andy Dick. He might be the only guy who gets himself in more hot water than Ronnie. Is Ronnie trying to stir the pot here? Overall, I'd say that this album was a step back in the right direction. Most of the tracks are more serious, even if there are still a few pop-infested cringe tracks mixed in. And Radke and his bandmates feel energized and focused in a way we hadn't really seen in a while. Where their second album was kind of all over the place, trying to cram many conflicting ideas into a single hour, this new album was more assured, and the maturity of the lyrics was a major shift away from Fashionably Late. I want to give a special mention to the hard-hitting intensity of the song Die For You. And the incredible guitar solo by the always impressive Jackie Vincent on My Heart's to Blame. I think maybe the biggest departure from the norm on this album is the closer, Brother. We mentioned the death of Ronnie's brother Anthony earlier in the video. This new song is dedicated to Anthony's memory, and this slow piano ballad might be the most heartfelt thing that Ronnie's ever written.
So hold on to the ones you love.
Critics were generally thrilled by this massive evolution, awarding the album top marks in reviews from Alternative Press, The Soundboard, and Revolver magazine. But the album was not the last of Falling in Reverse, honoring Ronnie's Escape the Fate roots.
Honestly, I'm just like you.
Ronnie Radke's 3-Ring Circus.
On March 16, 2015, Falling in Reverse announced Ronnie Radke's 3-Ring Circus. I saw them perform live near the end of the tour on June 6 at House of Blues in LA. One of the selling points of the tour was that they'd play Dying Is Your Latest Fashion in its entirety. But when I saw them, they did skip 2 tracks, and the rest of what they played was out of order. Still, that didn't detract from the show's quality. It was really cool to see Ronnie perform some songs that I thought I'd never get to see. The tour was a smash, with rave reviews from fans at every venue they played. But the year ended on a bittersweet note. Founding guitarist Jackie Vincent was leaving the band to concentrate on his solo career. The split was amicable, but I know I speak for a lot of fans when I say Falling in Reverse didn't quite feel the same without him. At the time of Jackie's departure, I was actually kind of excited to see what he could pull off on his own because it seemed like he was rarely allowed to use the full scope of his talent. However, I soon came to realize that Ronnie and Jackie are better off together. I'd really like to see that reunion, but it'll probably never happen. Ronnie's ego is just too big. In an interview with Alternative Press, Radke said, "I remember the first time I met Jackie. I walked out of prison and he was waiting there, so stoked. Hands down one of the greatest guitar players to ever live. And one of the most genuine people I've ever met. I wish him nothing but the best. Love you, Jackie." It's nice to see Ronnie have an amicable split for once, but the real tragedy is that they seem to be hesitant to play Born to Lead live these days. They have attempted it, but I'm pretty sure Jackie is one of the only people alive that can pull off that solo properly. Christian Thompson filled the open spot and provided backing vocals while the band worked on their 4th studio album, Coming Home. Radke called the new album a major left turn that was more focused on vibes than straight metal. And the first single, the title track, Coming Home, released December 19, 2016, definitely lived up to that promise.
Tell me who you are. Your father has forsaken you, left you with those scars. My hope is that you'll make it through.
There's a heavy electronica focus with more of a 2000s alt-rock sound. And in many ways, it's a big departure from their previous work. The song is about the bittersweet feeling of doing what you love, but knowing that you have to leave it all behind one day. Radke wrote it for his daughter. The next 2 singles, Loser and Broken, have a similar kind of ethereal quality to them that cements the tone of the title track. When the full album was released on April 7, 2017, it was probably the most overtly pop rock album that they've recorded, and there's a pretty strong 30 Seconds to Mars vibe throughout. The millennial whooping isn't really my thing, and while nothing about it is blatantly cringe like some of what we heard on previous albums, I can't say that I connected with it in the same way that I did with their first 3. Though the band did release a pretty great music video for Coming Home the same day that the album dropped. Christopher Nolan would be proud. My favorite track on the album is Fuck You and All Your Friends, a song that Radke said was recorded by accident while he was noodling around with the guitar. It's the most aggressively punk song on the album, with lyrics about a failed relationship. It's not clear what friend or enemy inspired the track, so we can only speculate. There are a lot to choose from. But in any case, critics were more kind to this album than I was on first listen. The most memorable write-up came from Alex Sievers from Kill Your Stereo, who wrote, "I've despised Falling in Reverse since their inception, but Strangle Me While I Come, I actually like it." On Coming Home, the band remained steadfast toward a more serious, honest, and moodier sound than what they've been known for previously. Long gone are their attempts at corny, sickening pop hits. Whatever you think of this album, it marked the end of the band's usual approach to releasing music. Taking cues from the world of hip-hop and rappers like Drake, Radke and his team began shifting away from full-length studio albums in favor of singles. In an interview with radio station 100.3 The X Rocks out of Boise, Idaho, Radke explained that the shift was motivated by poor album sales on Coming Home. It tanked. It did bad. I noticed a lot of bands that were my age were putting out new music, trying their hardest, and they were trying to figure it out, and I just remember being like, I can't put out another album, what can I do? Because I don't want to disappear into the abyss of aging emo. Instead of making 10 songs and spreading himself thin across those 10 tracks, he'd pour all of his creative juices into one song. Starting in 2018, Falling in Reverse initiated a massive reinvention of the band's sound and aesthetic. The new era of Falling in Reverse would lean into controversy like never before, but the gamble paid off in a major way. The song Losing My Mind was released on February 23, 2018 as the opening salvo in this new singles-only approach. The song and video were well received, and on June 26 of that same year, a follow-up video, Losing My Life, premiered to rave reviews from fans. The songs are 2 installments of a loosely connected story. Losing My Mind is about Radke's struggles with addiction and losing control, hence the name. It feels like a one-off single that would be right at home on the Fashionably Late album, mixing multiple genres on a single track. There's also the aesthetics, which carry pieces of the same DNA from the group's second studio effort. In the video, Radke and company are jamming to a laser light show in the same room that Batman used as his underground garage in The Dark Knight. Somewhere in the world, Christopher Nolan is smiling. Again. In the follow-up, Losing My Life, his character has hit rock bottom and is contemplating suicide. I think the song also represents the fear that he has about his daughter growing up too fast. In the video, Radke's daughter is a child who then ages up 15 years when he wakes up from a nightmare and he doesn't recognize her.
Dad, wake up! You were having a bad dream.
Where am I? Turn the fucking music off. Who the fuck are you?
I'm your daughter.
Compared to the familiar, tried and true approach on Losing My Mind, Losing My Life feels like something new entirely, combining FIR's style with synthwave. I'm a casual fan of synthwave, and it fits the band's tendency to tackle genres that are emblematic of a given era. This came out in 2018, a time when synthwave, vaporwave, and Simpsons wave were all popular on YouTube. The lyrics are also a rally cry against cancel culture, where he embraces his role as supervillain of the music scene. They reference his tendency to take shots at critics online with controversial statements meant to rile people up. We'll get into this topic in more detail later in the video, but Radke's intensity on this track reminds me of the venom that he had in his heart back when he was in prison. A venom that he'll deploy with greater frequency as we get closer to present day.
Are you triggered? Figures, here's the kicker. With every trigger, I'm getting richer from offended, bitter little Twitter bitches all up in my mentions looking for attention because they starved. If you wanna call me the king of the music scene, I got news for you. We gotta fix it.
The video ends with Radke battling an evil version of himself in a fight to the death. It's an epic cliffhanger, and it feels like it was ripped straight out of an anime. The ending sets up a third song and video, which serve as a proper finale for the series that is affectionately known as the Trilogy. In Drugs, the final song of the triptych, Radke finds hope and decides to get clean. For this third single, Falling in Reverse recruited some help from a heavy hitter in the form of Corey Taylor, Slipknot's legendary lead vocalist. The video premiered on April 8, 2019, and if the guest appearance wasn't enough, watching Ronnie Radke violently murder his own doppelganger with a chainsaw definitely got people's attention.
Everybody is down from the neck up, trying to get to the top, searching for a way out. This is a dying nation, so complacent. Spirits need awaken. What are we waiting for?
These highly cinematic and completely off-the-wall videos were a quantum leap forward for the group, and they reminded fans just how wickedly creative they could be when they're firing on all cylinders. But more than the visuals, there's a real emphasis on storytelling, with Radke confronting his absentee mother after the chainsaw scene in Drugs. Each one of these one-shots plays more like a short film than a traditional music video, with real attention invested in crafting a cohesive narrative. Not content to rest on their laurels, the band released 4 more singles along with 4 more truly epic music videos between November 2019 and January of 2023, with each one upping the ante in dramatic fashion. For those of you familiar with my horror channel, Cece's World, you'll feel right at home as these post-trilogy singles go heavy on horror imagery. We see werewolves, zombies, creepy nuns, a monster the size of a skyscraper, and plenty of blood-caked mayhem. I can't say for sure, but this aesthetic could be inspired by a band I covered in another episode, Ice Nine Kills, and their recent rise to popularity. This shift was a real treat for longtime fans and won a ton of converts who'd never properly been introduced. Popular Monster was the first one out of the gate from this new batch. In it, Radke explores his demons while turning into a bloodthirsty werewolf. This song has been an absolute juggernaut for Falling in Reverse, a real watershed moment, and one of the biggest songs ever released by Epitaph. It's been certified platinum in the United States and has nearly 300 million streams on Spotify as of this recording. On YouTube, the view count currently sits at 129 million and counting. Safe to say, this monster is the most popular monster amongst Falling in Reverse fans. For day one fans like me, this was the song that really made us sit up and take notice again. Through persistence and a lot of trial and error, Radke figured out a way to include rap sections without making it feel shoehorned in. Sonically, the track is dark and heavy, with a guitar solo that really brings the intensity for the first time since Jackie Vincent left the band. In the wake of the staggering success of the record, as it so often goes, Ronnie Radke was labeled a literal monster by haters on social media, after a series of inflammatory posts turned the frontman into a TikTok shock jock. No stranger to controversy, Radke leaned into this, continuing to be outspoken on the talk, on Twitter, and in his Twitch streams. He really likes social media that starts with T. He also fell back into his old ways, responding to everyone that has come after him, like Christopher Franzak, the lead vocalist for the metal band Attila, who, in his 2013 track, Call Out, attacked Ronnie for his mic stand incident and called him a f***.
You frauds! You f***ing poser!
Ronnie even responded directly to comments online from people who want to see him canceled.
Should we hold him accountable for throwing me against the band and choking me 8 years ago, or is that too long? Please advise. Hold on, let's check this out. Who are you? Excuse me? Who is this? You liar!
Every celebrity has people talking about them online. That's just the world we live in. And 99% of them will just do the logical thing and ignore it. Suffice to say, Ronnie is not part of that 99%. The guy refuses to keep his opinions to himself, and despite being banned on TikTok and Twitter, he channeled his frustration into a brand new single, which happens to be my personal favorite of the band's new singles-only era. With a huge surge of newfound popularity due to Popular Monster, the next move was surprisingly aimed at the band's original fanbase. On February 13th, 2020, to commemorate the band's debut album, The Drug in Me Is You, being certified gold, Falling in Reverse released an orchestral rock version of the original title track called The Drug in Me Is Reimagined, with Radke at the piano being backed by a chorus of cellos in the middle of a dark forest as a light snow falls over him, evoking a Phantom of the Opera kind of vibe. The girl from the original album cover even makes an appearance in the video. Good to see she finally got out of Ronnie's locker.
My fans are gonna lose their mind over that, I'm telling you.
And on top of that, they filmed this at my favorite place of all time, the YouTube Space LA. RIP YouTube Space. Bring it back, Neil. It's a massive departure from the original with a much more somber tone that achieves the almost impossible task of changing the meaning of the song without changing a single lyric. Falling in Reverse followed this reimagining with another remix of a song off their first album, I'm Not a Vampire. This time they called it I'm Not a Vampire Revamped. Released February 12, 2021, almost a year to the day after The Drug in Me Is Reimagined, the next video was an even bigger shift away from its source material. Set inside a gothic mansion, Radke sits at a piano yet again while he belts out lyrics about the struggles of addiction. The video makes the song literal by turning Radke into an actual vampire, living with this woman who seems to be contemplating escape and accidentally discovers Ronnie's true vampiric nature. It also features a full chorus of opera singers for an epic mountaintop soliloquy. Ronnie discovers his lover, and tries to save her by turning her into a vampire, but in the end, the angry mob of villagers comes to burn him at the stake, and she perishes with him as the sun comes up. The grand gothic horror opera of a music video comes a long way from the original Celebrity Rehab parody in scope, and shows how much Ronnie has grown as a visionary creator. Radke said the revamped version was over 10 years in the making. In a statement released through his label, Epitaph Records, the frontman said, I wrote the original song while sitting inside a maximum security prison about drug addiction. I always believed that songs such as this one had more to offer than its original form, so I wanted to give fans a new perspective and redefine who I am when it comes to expressing myself and being creative. The video was dedicated to the memory of the original FIR guitarist, Derek Jones, who died tragically in 2020 at just 35 years old. There's limited information about his death, but he passed just months after his wife Christina died from cancer. In a tweet, Radke wrote, I'll never forget when you picked me up from jail in your old tour van to start Falling in Reverse. Your spirit will be interwoven through the music that I write forever. Rest in peace, Derek Jones. My heart is broken. After two softer orchestral tracks, and after spending a couple years in more of a metaphorical prison known as the COVID-19 pandemic, the band would kick up the volume again for their next release. Zombified was released January 5, 2022, and sees Falling in Reverse battling a horde of zombies. It's a big-budget, George A. Romero-inspired track on modern-day cancel culture. The lyrics are very on the nose, but then again, so were the lyrics of some of the best tracks from The Drug in Me Is You. What makes the song special, like those tracks on the first album, is the fact that the lyrics are so personal to Ronnie and coming from a place of passion. In an interview with Loudwire, Radke elaborated on his inspiration for the song. If I said something in the 90s that's not okay now, it doesn't make me a bad person. What would make me a bad person is if I continued even knowing it's not right. There's just a fine line you gotta walk. It just feels like you have to walk on eggshells. It's hard to be any type of celebrity nowadays. Speaking of celebrities, Zombified also doubles as the entrance music for All Elite wrestling star Saraya. She is Ronnie's real-life girlfriend and has come to his defense on more than one occasion. I'll never understand this, saying whatever the fuck you want to a stranger, calling them all types of names and being told you can't reply because you're famous. You're following everything Ronnie does to the point of obsession. That's stan behavior, you fucking twat. Around this time, it was announced that Zombified would be part of a new EP called Neon Zombie. However, as of recording, that hasn't really been brought up again recently, and based on Ronnie's recent comments about the advantages of releasing singles, I'm guessing that's not going to happen, and he's just gonna stick with singles and music videos for now. The band's next song, Voices in My Head, premiered in May of the same year. And again, like drugs, Ronnie is offing his doppelganger. Only this time, he's fighting an army of them, with nods to Kill Bill and John Wick. The stunt work and the visuals here are impeccable. Move! The director of the video, Jensen Noen, said, I wanted to capture what it's like battling with your past, present, and future perception of yourself and the voices in everyone's head hindering them from their full potential. Underlining the director's point, the different versions of Ronnie that we see killed represent different eras of his career. Fashionably Late era Ronnie gets shot in the head. Ronnie from the Just Like You era gets stabbed in the face. It's a really interesting meta-commentary that encapsulates his entire body of work up to that point. The band's latest and greatest single yet, according to a legion of YouTube reaction videos, is Watch the World Burn, released in January 2022. 2023. Here, we see Radke jumping out of an exploding plane, setting a priest on fire, battling giant serpents, and shooting laser beams from his eyes in the middle of the church. It's gnarly as hell. Like a cross between Mission Impossible, The Exorcist, and The Boys with the dash of Star Wars. Because why not?
You're never gonna get me because you never see it simple. Yeah, my motherfucking God, you're a light gone. I'm a time on, I'm vibe wrong, it's my God. I'm killing syllables of the letter of Philip. I'm a lyrical, typical super villain. I'm venomous and I'm never gonna stop until they put me on top of the list.
Again, Radke takes aim at his critics, and no one is safe. Fueled by what is probably the most lyrical dexterity that Radke's ever shown, the Eminem influence is all over this thing, the single was the first ever by Falling in Reverse to chart on the Billboard Hot 100, peaking at number 83. The seemingly endless supply of YouTube reaction videos didn't hurt either. But some listeners were less enthused. Notorious music reviewer Anthony Fantano gave a scathing review of the track that seemed more like a personal attack than a genuine critique.
Watch the World Burn, new track from Falling in Reverse. I love that. I'm just noticing now that the front cover here for the thing is kind of like it's like a movie poster. Oh man, it's like a really cool, edgy looking movie. When in reality, it is the cover to a really bad rap metal song where it kind of sounds like Tom McDonald but without the racism, and Eminem but without like the talent. Yeah, the bars are cringe and super terrible and difficult to bear, and kind of the metal transition it goes into toward the end of the track is gross and tacky as fuck. And yeah, I hope that I don't have to listen to this track too many more times before I end up in a grave.
Of course, Radke fired back in what turned into a string of tweets between them both where they mocked each other's old photos. Fantano made a dig about him looking older than he should and said, "What's your secret? Cocaine?" Radke's final tweet in the exchange said, "We all know what happens to mostly negative critic YouTubers. Another YouTuber will make a video called What Happened to Anthony Fantano in 2 years tops." I don't know about that, considering Fantano has been around a lot longer than the Sunny V2s or Internet J's of the world, but Ronnie clearly got under the melon's skin. He's still seething to this day.
Today, we're talking about a very special man on the internet, quite possibly the biggest living piece of trash in the world of rock music right now. That's Mr. Ronald Radke.
Despite that digital dust-up with Fantano, Radke welcomed all responses to the new track. In an interview with Victor Wilt of K-Bear 101 FM out of Idaho, he says he expected a certain amount of backlash because his fan base is mostly into rock and metal, not rap.
I like that there's two sides to it. If everybody loved it, there's no sense of rawness to it. It doesn't feel genuine to me. When everybody loves it, there's something off about that. So the fact that it's like polarizing is a big deal to me, because that's all the icons in the world that have stood the test of time. Their careers have polarized in one way or another. You can't be loved all the time. That's like a red flag to me.
Personally, I have to disagree with Fantano. I'm not normally a fan of incorporating rap into rock or metal, but these songs do it really well, and they go hard. It's tricky for me to put my finger on what makes these new songs work so much better than Alone, but I'm guessing it has something to do with the rap on the new tracks fitting the dark tone of these songs. Alone felt like the popular rap of 2013 crammed into a Falling in Reverse song, whereas Watch the World Burn sounds cinematic, angsty, and heavy. It's something new, and it fits right in. It's so good to hear them sounding dark again, and I really love the build up to the heavy guitars. I think the clear takeaway from this singles era is that you can hear the rage behind these songs. All the cancel culture stuff really lit a fire under Ronnie. The last time he was this angry was when he had been kicked out of his own band and was sitting in prison, and you can really hear the emotion come through in the resulting album. For the first time since then, it feels like that fire is reignited, and he's taking out his frustrations in the music, not just on social media. If these singles were on a single album, I'd probably rank it near the top of their discography. And that brings us to the third, and so far, final reimagined track. On June 26, 2023, Falling in Reverse surprised us with a reimagining of Papa Roach's 2000s nu metal anthem, Last Resort. You know, this song.
Cut my life into pieces, this is my last resort.
Radke's take is a stripped down, piano and strings driven power ballad where his vocals take center stage. This new version hammers home the emotional power of that original song with an interesting twist that caught a lot of fans of both bands off guard.
Cut my life into pieces, this is my last resort. Suffocation, no breathing, don't give a fuck if I cut my arm bleeding.
Where the original was heavy on frustration and rage, this new take leans more into the sadness of the lyrics penned by Papa Roach frontman Jacoby Shaddix, and the feeling of helplessness that leads a person to consider suicide. Cover songs can be risky business when it comes to fans of the original, but the response from the public was overwhelmingly positive.
Pause. Holy goose
goosebumps.
But no reaction was more effusive than Shattuck's himself. Radke played the reimagined song for its original creator before it was released to the public.
Oh my god. Wow, dude. Killed that.
Like
so
it?
Good. I love it. Absolutely love it.
So good, dude.
That is tripping right now. I'm tripping, dude. That's dope as dude.
So now we've gotten 2 reimagined songs, 1 revamped. When are we gonna get Game Over respawned? I most recently saw Falling in Reverse live on the Popular Monster in July 2023 in front of their hometown crowd in Vegas. And I can tell you firsthand, they've never been better. Still, it wouldn't be Falling in Reverse, and Ronnie Radke in particular, without a steady dose of controversy mixed in with all the success. On the Popular Monster, Radke made it a point to take a mean-spirited swipe at his old rival Smash Mouth, a band he once called the biggest joke in rock music.
That song is dedicated to the drummer of Smash Mouth because he talks shit about my band on the internet. And you know what's so funny? My crowd singing their song is louder than their crowd will ever be. It's so funny.
Guess he's right about that, technically. Rip Steve Harwell. In the face of shakeups and breakups, addiction, accusation, incarceration, and even death, Falling in Reverse and its controversial frontman Ronnie Radke continue to power through adversity. After this, it was radio silence for almost a year, and as a note, when I say radio silence, I mean that in terms of Falling in Reverse releases. When it comes to social media activity, such as Ronnie getting himself into online battles with his ops and stirring up controversy, there's no end to it. I initially wanted to cover it all, but I think we'd be here all day. I think the inability to just not respond that I talked about earlier has just turned into his publicity strategy, and it seems to be working out for him. On May 7th, 2024, the band released a new single, the heavy as hell Ronald, featuring Tekna 9 and Alex Terrible, along with the surprising announcement of a new album and sequel tour, if that's a thing, Popular Monster 2 World Domination. And the Ronald video is a wild ride. It starts in first person, with Radke waking up in a prison truck and immediately taking out the cops inside it before it crashes, throwing him through the windscreen. In an awesome camera spin shot, he lands on the back of a motorcycle before being picked up by some devil birds who carry him to a rooftop where a circle of robed cultists try to electrocute him to death. Instead, Radke turns into a swirl of black mist and somersaults his way through a few more explosions. He then tries to hide and gets grabbed by a robot who drags him up the side of a building where a gun copter goes all Matrix on Radke as he starts running through the hail of bullets before leaping over to the chopper and transforming into a werewolf. It doesn't end too well though. When it crashes, he ends up in a purgatory where Tekna 9 gets his verse and Radke gets dragged down to hell, where he mimics the scene between Superman and Doomsday at the end of Dawn of Justice, but with the actual devil. Wow, it's a lot. I think the modern horror genre could actually learn a lot from this video, and that's coming from me. It never ceases to impress. There's so much going on here, it's hard to unpack, but I think it's safe to say that by naming the single after himself, we can maybe extrapolate what story Radke is trying to tell. He's revived at the start of the video and comes out fighting, while also transforming, then being lectured and sent to hell where he fights the devil. I feel like this is Radke showing the journey of Falling in Reverse, from getting out of jail, to fighting his way back to the top, to being judged and people trying to bring him down. But he's still fighting. I'm not suggesting he literally fought robots or turned into a werewolf, but if we treat it as a metaphor, it makes a lot more sense. Maybe he has fought robots on X-Twitter, I don't know. Hyperbolic maybe, but I can see what he's saying. Ronald was a firm confirmation that Falling in Reverse wasn't easing off. The next single, All My Life, however, is a total record scratch change of pace. Starting off with acoustic guitar and a poppy, albeit still heavy chorus, the country meets metal, alternative sound is a long way from Ronald's darker energy. The video is another change of pace. Where Ronald referenced horror and action movies, All My Life is a western through and through, albeit with some twists. Starting with Radke riding onto town on horseback, then walking into a gunfight, he does his thing and walks in slow-mo through the action. He plays a hand of poker with the sheriff, played by Blair White, while Jelly Roll takes a verse from his prison cell. Radke frees him, and they, naturally, go straight into robbing a bank. Blair and company are there waiting for them when they get into a gunslinging duel which ends with both of them shot. But don't worry, the power of unicorn rainbows saves them. After some heavy metal line dancing, Jelly Roll drinks a funny potion which he tosses into a stroller that turns a baby into a giant giant octopus, and then him into a 100-foot giant. Total destruction ensues as Radke hops on the last train out of Dodge, but wouldn't you know, the octopus baby destroys the bridge that he's on. I mean, wow, you certainly can't fault Radke for his ambition. I don't really think there's much of a theme to this, as much as just a lot of crazy fun stuff happens, and it's a chance for everyone involved to just play cowboys and aliens. And rainbows. You could argue the costume change from white to black says something about how Radke is seen as the bad guy, but I don't think a giant jelly roll is a metaphor for the effects of genetically modified food or something. It's got a sense of humor about itself, which I think is fair to say that Falling in Reverse sometimes lacks, so this was a lot of fun. It does feel like the videos are skewing more towards cramming in a bunch of viral moments that commentators will talk about rather than telling a cohesive story, which I guess falls in line with the rest of Ronnie's online presence. I love this song and video though, and they both fit perfectly with the band's can't guess our next move approach. The album 5 years in the making, Popular Monster, was released on August 16th, 2024, with the provocative image of Radke's mugshot on the cover. Much like the singles that preceded it, the album is a mashup of all kinds of different influences and sounds, from rap to country to pop, all through a metalcore lens. The next single was Prequel, which, like seemingly everything he does, is Radke's response to his critics and an unapologetic defense of who he is, set to a dramatic string and choir-filled backing. The music video acts as a literal prequel to Ronald by showing how he got the costume that he wore in that video. It's another epic, shot with a lot of similar imagery to the recent Dune movies. Radke is crowned ruler of a dark alien city, inspires a rebellion among a crowd, and is ultimately betrayed and crucified by his own followers. As his soul departs, angels and demons battle over it, and his laser-eyed wrath destroys the palace in a final act of vengeance. The theme here is pretty clear in both the lyrics and the imagery. Radke sees himself as a savior, telling the audience to follow me and rise up and stand against them. Paired with the Dune imagery, it's a story about a revolutionary young leader raising an army. Along with the crucifixion moment, Prequel is a pretty clear statement of intent. After what Radke saw as the failure of Coming Home, he wanted Popular Monster to be more accessible, but not skip on the hardcore. And it worked. Popular Monster came in at number 12 on the Billboard Top 200 on launch and was certified gold by the RIAA not long after. But like everything Falling in Reverse does, the record divided opinion, with some critics praising it, saying it was like nothing else out there, and the haters hating it, saying it was baffling and depressing that a band like Falling in Reverse still has a platform. Remember earlier when I said that if the era of singles was an album, then it would be near the top? Well, now I'm adding more onto the end of this video, because it is an album now, and it is near the top. While Popular Monster is certainly Ronnie's most commercially successful work, I'm not changing my magnum opus pick. It's definitely close to The Drug in Me Is You, but ironically, I feel like the non-singles added to fill out the track list, like Bad Guy, Trigger Warning, and No Fear, don't live up to the high expectations set by the other 8 tracks. I don't dislike them, but the debut album just gave us 11 classics. Whatever the general opinion of the band seems to be, Radke makes it clear.
I admit I'm a little strange. I don't think that I'll ever change.
But that wasn't the last we heard of Radke and Falling in Reverse. They recently dropped a new single, God is a Weapon, in collaboration with metal goth father Marilyn Manson. It released on May 20th, 2025. It carries on the slickly produced sound of Popular Monster, and the music video is as huge as ever. Though there's no explicit narrative, the imagery tells its own story. Shot in high contrast black and white, a newly sheared Radke flexes his muscles in front of some billowing fabric as images of war, battlefields, orbital lasers, snarling wolves, screaming faces, and Dana Donata as God in a skin suit purges the earth of sinners and makes out with Radke. While it is certainly more subdued than the likes of Ronald or All My Life, this one has the vibe of taking itself seriously, with one commenter pointing out it looks kinda like a cologne ad, which is hard not to think about now. I imagine with the success of the Popular Monster album, Ronnie and the crew are gonna do the same thing again, with God as a Weapon being the first in a long series of singles and music videos. But this is my cutoff point. This band is very active, so anything that happens between God as a Weapon and the release of this video will have to be covered next time I talk about Falling in Reverse. Like a vampire or a zombie, he keeps on going no matter what you throw at him. Ronnie has continued to be the single driving force behind this band, proving his 28-year-old self to be correct. It was always him. Check out that video on the left for my entire history of Popular Monster's special guests, Ice 9 Kills, and make sure to stay plugged in by subscribing to Pumpkin Metal for more than just Pumpkin Metal, let the bell toll for notifications, and I will see you in the next one. Until then, mic drop.